That's where we come in. What we do is we help Ps take decision whether they should invest in a company or not. I'm sure you all have seen Shark Tank India. So it's basically like we are the investors to the sharks. Yeah, honestly, we're network building. So if you want to switch jobs, it is important.
That is important in every domain that way.
Exactly. Most people, even after MBA, are not aware what CDD is. That's the reality.
Hello everyone. Hope all of you are keeping well and safe. My name is Divya Daga and I am a CA working in the financial services industry. I'm hosting today's Industry Connect session organized by Seekamentor, which is an online platform that aims to make quality mentorship more accessible and personalized. If you're new to Seekamentor, we are a career mentorship platform with more than 120 experts from diverse industries. We have till date helped over 5,000 students through our mentorship programs and initiatives, collaborating with more than 40 institutions. So you can book a one-on-one session with your preferred mentor today. Okay, I am sure most of you must have heard about financial due diligence, which comes under the ambit of mergers and acquisition transactions, where you assess the financial health of the company. But there is yet another aspect, which is evaluated by the investors at the time of investment or acquisition, and that is the commercial attractiveness of that business. So we are going to discuss careers and commercial due diligence today, which I will, of course, call CDD in short. And to help us decode this domain, we have Akshay Kumar Sasalewala, who is currently working in the strategy and deal advisory under the commercial due diligence function at Deloitte. He's a CA by profession and has completed his MBA from IIM Kozhikode. So first of all, welcome Akshay. Thank you so much for taking out your time and helping our viewers to understand the nitty-gritties of CDD. And I'm sure this is going to add a great value to them. So welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, Divya. I really want to thank you and Seekamentor for inviting me, and really looking forward to have a great discussion with you.
Great. So, Akshay, I'd like to first start off with a quick overview about you, yourself, your journey so far. So, over to you.
Right. So, as you rightly said, I'm a chartered accountant. I've cleared all levels of CFA and FRM. I graduated from IIM Kozhikode in 2020 and joined Deloitte India in the strategy and deal advisory division. Over the last 1.5, 2 years, I've worked across multiple sectors, and I'm also part of their campus recruitment team. So if you know how to get a shortlist, I'm the right person to give you that answer.
Yes.
Apart from that, I'm very passionate about content creation. I have been writing on Quora for a long time. Now I do that on LinkedIn. And I'm also very passionate about mentoring. Any way I can help students, I always try to do that. I was also featured in Forbes India magazine in 2020 for helping people during the pandemic. That's
Wow.
about me.
That's fantastic, actually. I didn't know about the Forbes part, but that is actually very, very fantastic.
That's why I always
And yeah.
that's why I always plug that in wherever I go.
Oh yeah. And I was also excited because I finally found, a colleague from Deloitte to interview. So that is also a special for me. So
So
okay.
we can say that we are delighted to be here.
Yeah. I was Deloitte a long back. I'm re-Deloitte basically this time. But great. Thank you so much. And let's just jump into the questions straight. Okay, before that, for anyone who would like to know more about Akshay or connect with him one-on-one, we have his LinkedIn profile in the description box. Yeah, so let's start with the first question, Akshay. This is the basic one, right? What exactly is commercial due diligence and how is it different from the management consultancy roles that we see?
So very very important question, because most people, even after MBA, are not aware what CDD is. That's the reality. So basically, what CDD is, let's say if a private equity wants to invest any money in any company, uh, obviously they need to check whether legally it makes sense. They want to check if the financial statements are right, but they also want to understand if it is it investable. Does it make sense in terms of business? That's where we come in. What we do is we help Ps take decision whether they should invest in a company or not. So, for example, if I'm sure you all have seen Shark Tank India. So it's basically like we are the investors to the sharks. That's exactly what we do. How different is it from consultancy? Well, honestly, I believe that it's a small subset of consultancy. I don't see it different from management consultancy. I see it as a small subset. Um, and so if you actually look at any top consulting firm, a lot of their work is through CDD. So if I can give you the example of Bain and Company, 50% of their revenue comes from CDD. So CDD is a big chunk, and I call it personally as I call myself a consultant only. I don't call myself anything else. So I think it's equal to consulting.
Got it, got it. So what are the aspects that ones evaluate from the CDD standpoint? And how does the whole process look like? It'll be great if you can help us elaborate with some examples.
Right. So I'll walk you through a typical CDD. What how we do it. So let's just take an example of one I worked on some time back, which is an Indian pharma company with major business based in UK. So what we did was, the first thing which you do is first we understand the company. What are their products? Where is their revenue coming from? What are their strengths, weaknesses? Just a slight understanding of the company. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is we want to understand the market, right? So for example, over here they were dealing in the UK market. So what we do is we did an analysis of the entire UK market pertaining to the products in which our company was working in, right? So for example, we look at what has been the past growth in the industry, what is expected to be the growth in the future, what are the drivers, what are the challenges, what are the trends in the industry, any regulations which are going to impact it significantly, everything about the industry, which are the main players in the industry, etc. So everything about it we try to understand. And this also helps us understand exactly what we are dealing with, because uh, as I told you that every industry we work on or every client we work on is from a different industry. It is completely different. So we first do an overview of the industry. The second thing we do is the third thing we do is then we look at the competitors. So we do a proper competitive analysis where we look at which are the major players, what kind of market share do they have, what kind of products are they dealing in, how are their products different from the ones which we have, what are the USPs of the competitors, etc. This is the third step. And finally, the fourth step is when, on the basis of our company, the market, and on the basis of the information we have received on the competitors, we finally give our projection of where we think the company will be after 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, depending on the investment timeline. This is the last step, and this is the most important step. So that based on all the reasons which we've discussed, or which I've listed down, we then finally give our view of whether this makes sense or not. So that this is basically how a typical CDD works.
Okay, and when you say you've given a projection to them, is it like a financial projection that you give, or is it like an industry projection that you give?
Exactly. So we give a projection of the industry as well. So for that, what we do is we do a mix of primary research and secondary research. So let me explain both to you. Secondary research, I mean, we all know that it's
Yeah.
basically going through a lot of reports, industry reports. Like for example, on any industry, you'll find reports by all the top consultancy firms, and then some specific research firms. So we go through those reports, try to understand what exactly is the value of the industry, etc., the growth, etc. And then the second thing which we do is something which I really enjoy is primary research. So over here, what we do is we uh, get on paid calls with industry experts. So I mean, at times the money which we pay is as much as 50,000, 70,000 for an hour of conversation.
Yeah.
And so and over here, what we do is we talk to, let's say, the AVPs or the CEOs of our competitors, and try to understand what their view of the market is. What are the pros, what are the cons, maybe get some information about the numbers, get some clarity on some concepts which we don't understand, because everything cannot be understood through secondary research, right? So these are the two things which we do, and hence finally we come to the conclusion regarding what could be the numbers of the industry as well as of the target.
Got it, understood. And since you're covering that primary research aspect, also just to understand, do you also do like customer surveys of that particular industry? Like, do you run surveys to understand if that product or service is being used by the industry or something like that? Because I think I've seen one deal where this was done. So just to get a perspective on that.
Well, that's a very painful point which you brought up. Customer service, as you know, can be very, very disturbing in the sense that it's very hard to talk to consumers. So I have actually done that. I remember, we needed 50 responses. We had to talk to 50 customers, and I literally called 180 people, right? 180 people over 3 days, I guess. And I had to ask them, I had to call them randomly. Firstly, I'm calling them randomly and asking them whether, hey, do you have time to talk to me regarding some XYZ product? And they're like, who are you again? I mean, it's difficult to talk to
Difficult.
consumers, but yes, I
Right.
think sometimes you do have to do it. And honestly, you get a lot of interesting feedback through it. So,
Correct.
when people talk to you, they're very honest. They give you feedback, upfront feedback, which can be
Correct.
very helpful for you.
Right.
So yes, sometimes we do have to do we do have to do consumer reviews, and I think they are very helpful. But then it's not something which we do for every CDD. It's only done when
Just
the
yeah.
when the company specifically asks us to do a review. And
It is in your scope basically.
exactly, I'll add one more. I'll give some more yarn here. There are three types of probably calls. One are cold calls. Then there are warm calls. I mean, maybe just two, cold and warm. So in terms of cold calls, what happens is I've been given a number, I've been given a name. I randomly call that person. That person doesn't know me. I don't know that person. But then there are also warm calls where some people are already told that you could be getting a call, and that these calls are much easier to
Fair. Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
that's how it works. So sometimes for to get people to talk to us, we also need to give them small incentives, Amazon vouchers, etc. So that's
Oh, interesting.
right.
Great, great. Cool. So the next one is basically, are the roles in CDD generally sector specific? And if somebody is, planning to join this, is it expected that that person has a, specific sector knowledge to be able to enter, or, because my understanding is that it needs certain business acumen.
That's a very, very interesting and good question, I would say. So you can probably divide it into two parts. For the first 4 to 5 years, or maybe 4 to 6 years of a career, it doesn't matter if you are not an expert in any industry, because I mean, just imagine you just graduated from your B school. How are you supposed to know which industry you want to specialize in? Many people don't know that. So initially, when you start, you need to be a generalist. You can be a part of any industry. You can be given a project in any industry. But then after 5 to 6 years, when you become a manager, you are then tagged to one specific industry. Maybe after 5 to 6 years, you know where you want to specialize in and where you want to spend your entire career in. So
Right.
that's how it normally works. Um, and I think it's good because if I talk about my experience, the first project I did was in the healthcare space. Now I'm a CA, CFA, MBA finance. I have no idea about pharma or healthcare, but my
Mhm.
first project was in pharma. It was in the COVID vaccine space. My next one was for an international on the international mushroom market. My next one was in the private jet space. Then I did one project on the in the agriculture space. I did one for a lingerie brand. So the kind of experience which someone my age gets, it's wonderful. And at the end, you can then decide which which industry you want to stick to and make your career in. But yeah, to be I mean, for someone like you and me, we don't need a specialization right now. We can think about it and then decide after 3 or 4 years, is what I want to say.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Let's also touch upon a topic which is actually spoken a lot about Big Fours, and that is the work-life balance. So how is life on ground in CDD? How long are the projects and working hours in general?
Right. So touchy topic, but I'll try to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
So in general, a CDD, can run from, let's say, 3 weeks to 6 weeks. On an average, I would say 4 to 5 weeks is the sweet spot. but there are some cases where the investors are very, in a very big rush, so they ask you to do it in 3 weeks, then we are screwed. But then in normal cases, 4 to 5 weeks. Now, if you actually look at the structuring of any CDD team, it's not pure CDD. It's always strategy plus CDD, because CDDs are very, very hectic. So for those 5 weeks, out of those 5 weeks, probably you would be working on the weekends for three of them. And for the other two, even if you're not working on the weekends, you might have to make yourself available. It can be very stressful, because you understand that you have to understand about an entire industry and give your analysis to some to the private equity, which is anyways comprised of experts, and you have to give your view, and you have to be sound smart in that time. So it is very hectic. It can be very, very hectic. And hence most teams have a strategy plus CDD breakup, where you might do 3 or 4 CDDs in a year, and rest of your time is on strategy projects, which is relatively more chill. So work life can be an issue during a CDD project, but then at least Deloitte, I can say, manages our workload in a very good way, and I'm sure other firms also do. Otherwise, people will burn out, and there'll be a lot of turnover.
Understood. Fair enough. Right now, how is the industry doing in terms of the deal flow? Because right now there's a lot of traction going on in the industry. Do you expect this to sustain in the longer run?
Well, I honestly, to be very frank, I'm not an industry expert yet, but what I can say is, when I started work in this industry in 2020, uh, things were just picking up. I started I think in August, so things were just picking up. The first wave had just ended. Things were picking up, and then suddenly, when the second wave struck, there was once again a lull in the market, right? But since then, it's literally been continuously. There are projects continuously. I think the industry is doing pretty well, and I think our team would be probably running at 100% capacity since, I think, October. It's been back to back to back to back, and a lot of projects coming in. So I think it will sustain in the future as well. Is what my guess is.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Next question is an important one for people who are actually looking to get into this field, and that is on career progression. So, just splitting it into two parts, can you explain what is the career progression for somebody who's going to remain in the role, and somebody who's wanting to take some experience and explore alternate opportunities with that experience? So, yeah, both of these.
Right. So let's say if you want to continue in a big four, if I talk about a big four, normally the structure is that post. So okay, let me start from the bottom. Let's say if you are just a BCom, or just a graduate basically, and if you want a job, you normally start as an executive, right? Um, you work for 2 years, you become a senior executive. Work for 2 years, you join as an AM, which is assistant manager. Mostly, what happens is, once MBAs are normally hired at the AM level. Now, this is a bit controversial, because CA. What happens is, for all the other departments, CAs are hired at AM level, but and for this department, MBAs are hired at AM level, which makes no sense. But then, anyways, so basically, you join at AM level. Let's say if I'm talking about an MBA, he or she joins at AM level. Then you work for 2 years, you become a DM. You work for 2 years, you become a manager, and then, basically, you can become a partner in, I would say, probably 10 years. You can 10 to 12 years, probably, you can easily become a partner.
Okay.
That's the progression. And to become manager post MBA, you need 4 years of experience. That's how it is if you are in the team. And if you want to quit this field, there are a lot of opportunities which are available. So as I said, it's considered a part of consulting. So even when you are working, you get a lot of calls from consulting firms, to interview you, to join them, whatever. So the most common exit would probably be consulting. Other than that, the other exits could be, you can either join a PE or a VC, but for that you really have to be very smart, right?
Yeah.
Because even though you have been assisting them, joining them is a different game altogether. So PE exits are rare, but then they do happen. I've seen many people who have joined PE VCs, and salute to them because that's great for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apart from that, the third exit, which probably is preferred by most people, is joining the corporate strategy department of any basically corporate, top corporate, maybe joining the Aditya Birla group or any other top group as maybe an M&A expert or their corporate strategy team. I mean, that is the third type of exit. These are the three major exits. In terms of pure CDD, there are very few players in the market who are pure CDD. So hence, I think a consulting exit is more common than a pure CDD exit, is what I would say.
Got it. Got it. Fair enough. And what are the general skill sets and qualification that one looks at while hiring for this profile?
Right. So, okay, let's talk about the interview process. Maybe let's talk about that. And I can correlate the skills needed with the interview process. So, if I talk about the interview process, normally I can divide it into two parts. Maybe one is maybe look at the MBB way, or which is basically you'll have 3 rounds, probably 3 to 4 rounds, and you will be asked cases and guesstimates. That's it. And it would probably start with maybe 5 minutes about yourself, and then move on to cases, guesstimates. Now, what is a case? I'll just give an example. A case is like, let's say you are told that you have to start, or let's say you have an umbrella factory which is facing losses. What will you do? That's a case, and you have to solve it. You use a structured approach and solve it. Now, there are two things which most companies look for, which is a your problem solving skills. How do you solve this problem? Do you do it in a structured way? Do you use a proper framework? And are you able to logically think and come to the conclusion? That is one thing, one skill which is very, very important, because consulting or CDD is all about problem solving. The second thing is communication skills, because as a consultant, as a CDD person, you are expected to present to your client, expected to present to your manager, and obviously deal with your colleagues. So communication is very, very important. Just imagine you are sitting in front of a PE, and PEs are filled with people from the top IIMs or global B schools, and if you are not a good speaker, things could get ugly. So I would say that these are the two major skills. The third skill, which if I talk about the big four hiring, at least how we hire, is we have three rounds probably. We start with a case and guesstimate, as MBB does, and then we have a second round where you are asked to prepare a proper Excel and PPT. So what they do is they check your technical skills. They check whether in an Excel, are you using the right formulas? Are you linking everything? Is your Excel dirty or clean? And secondly, in terms of PPT, are you using the right charts? Do you know how to use basic PPT skills? Basic things like, have you put in the source source details? Have your basic things like those.
Yeah.
They just want to check your PPT skills as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of normal generic skills, I would say communication and problem solving, and technical skills, Excel, PPT, very, very important.
Understood.
These are probably the only skills. I mean, you don't need anything else apart from this.
And in terms of qualification, is it like only MBAs will get into CDD, or is there any other basically qualification that can help get into CDD?
I think every team will have a different policy for this, but I would say that, which I say for consulting as well, that an MBA will open more doors for you, but then that doesn't mean that CS cannot enter it at all. I mean, that's completely untrue. CS can definitely get into such profiles as well, but an MBA will open more doors for you. So I mean, if I talk about my team, in terms of pure CA, out of 25 members, we just have one pure CA, right?
Okay.
And I would say maybe 13 of them would be MBAs.
Okay.
And so I mean, it's difficult to crack it if you are a pure CA, but not impossible. If you are able to if you are able to get into maybe a boutique consulting firm, and then you can rise up, it's possible. But an MBA will open more doors. And actually, talking about the recent posts on LinkedIn as well, I'm sure you must have seen so many of them. It's flooded. and most of them also require a top MBA. So MBA obviously opens more doors in consulting, but that being said, you see so many CAs now getting into consulting that
Correct.
it's commendable. I'm sure ICI is doing something to increase that as well. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen actually, yeah. At least what I know is like BCG hires rankers. So
Exactly,
that is
exactly.
one of the policies. So yeah,
Right,
there
right,
are certain standards even for CS in the industry. So agree
right,
with you.
right.
Okay. And any tips and tricks that you have for the resume building part that you already covered the interview part. So resume में ऐसा क्या लिखे कि call आ जाए?
That's the million dollar question. So
Yeah.
I've been a part of the campus recruitment team for 2 years now. I mean, since the time I'm here, I've seen two recruitment seasons, and I was also part of the lateral recruitment team. So I think I can give you quite a bit of gyan over here. Uh,
Mhm.
the first thing is, so if I talk about, we normally generally when I say campus recruitment, it majorly means we went to colleges like I am Lucknow, I am Kozhikode, I am Indore, and MDI. These are the four colleges we targeted. So what we looked at was, we looked at the academics, which means the scores in 10th, 12th, 15th. If you're a CA, your CS scores.
Mhm.
If you have some other qualifications, you know, looking at those things, that was one aspect which we looked at. uh, which it was this was very important. I probably almost 50% weightage is given to these skills. Then we look at your work experience, your past work experience. So if you are from a big four in the in your past, if you worked with the big four, it's great because you know the culture. Other than that, even if you are from top companies like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, etc., it's obviously preferred.
Yeah.
So the work experience and where you worked, those are the things which we looked at. And
Correct.
lastly, what we looked at in campus was that which committees are you a part of. So if let's say you're a part of the corporate relations team, or if you're part of the student council, those two committees really improve your communication skills because you're talking with seniors. You are being a liaison between the administration and students, which is not easy. So we look for such people. This is in terms of campus hiring. If I talk about lateral hiring, what we should write is, I'll give some basic tips. Now, I recently asked one of my friends to, one of my friends basically sent her CV to me,
Mhm.
and for a referral, and she sent me a 4-page CV. Now,
Mhm.
that is ridiculous because normally any HR will spend not more than 1 minute on your CV, right? So if you send a 4-page CV, you're basically asking me to spend 15 seconds on each page, which is not going to happen. So what will happen is the HR will probably read the first 2 pages, make a decision. So the first thing which I would like to tell the viewers is please stick to a 1-page CV only, maximum 1.5 pages. Trust me, nobody's going to go to the third or fourth page. Okay, it's a resume, not an autobiography, right? The second thing is, always focus on the impact which you have brought about rather than just the role. So if let's say you've done something which has increased efficiency by XYZ percentage, or which has increased the followers of, let's say if you're a digital marketing, if you're into digital marketing and you increase some followers, or if you increase the sales, please mention those things rather than saying that, okay, you did this, you did this, you did this. So talking about the impact is better than the role. And the last tip which I would give you is, and this is also something which I've seen in many people's CVs. They have a separate section for things like for their goals, talking about their goals or their dreams, and then talking about giving random using generic words like leadership skills, team management, uh, motivated individual, etc. Now, now, if I ask you, Divya, are you motivated? You will say yes. If I ask you, do you have leadership skills? You will say yes. Can you work in teams? You will say yes. Everybody will say yes to these qualities. So just writing them will not add any value. If you have to show that you have leadership skills, you can talk about that. You started some committee on campus or in your college, etc. That will show that you have leadership skills. If you want to show that you have worked well in teams, maybe you can talk about any award you won while you were working somewhere else, how you were able to work properly with your teammates, etc. Show examples rather than just randomly stating words.
Mhm.
So I would just recommend these few tips. And if you're a non-MBA, uh, if you can get some consulting experience, maybe from a boutique firm also, that would really help, is what my final tip would be to people. And I've seen people who have, if let's say not joined as a for full-time role, they joined as, let's say, for a 6-month role, and then they've converted. So if let's say you really want to get into consulting and you are okay with such kind of an arrangement, I think it's a great way to start your career.
Yeah, those are great tips actually. I agree with all of them. In fact, I've seen the same suggestions being given, and yeah, I think those actually make sense. So I think this was a very interesting conversation, especially for me because I've seen CDD closely before. But I hope this gives a good perspective to people who aspire to apply to such roles. And I once again thank you so much for your valuable inputs about the domain. In fact, this has, reminded me about that Porter's five forces model that we have studied in school. Like it is kind of similar
Absolutely.
in the CDD sense, right? Because you're
Right.
evaluating the five forces for a company. So yeah, and just a fun fact. So Akshay, you've been on the other side of the table where you used to interview people about their careers. So I hope you had fun today. That being interviewed, and I did a fair job in interviewing you, basically.
No, I absolutely enjoyed it, and looking forward to more such interactions with Seekamentor and with you and in the entire team.
Great, great. Okay. So again, pleasure to have you on board. To the audience, if you have any suggestions on the content or topics that you want us to cover, please do drop in the comments section. Seeker Mentor has planned a lot more interesting topics for the upcoming weeks. Sorry, we've been a little on a break sort of a thing because we were occupied with some other commitments, but we are back with a bang. So stay tuned. We have a lot of interesting topics coming in the next few weeks. Please also don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram to ensure that you do not miss out on any of the updates on the upcoming sessions. All the links are in the description box. So thank you from all of us at Seeker Mentor, and thanking Akshay again for his time. I wish you a great day ahead.